On the night of June 12, 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend, Ron Goldman, were stabbed to death outside Nicole's condominium in Brentwood. Nicole's ex-husband, football great OJ Simpson, was almost immediately named the prime suspect in their murders. In this video, we are going to look into the case of OJ Simpson. 6 p.m. Nicole and OJ had just attended their daughter's dance rehearsal and are leaving the venue separately. 6:30 p.m. Nicole and her family have dinner at the Mezzaluna restaurant. After the dinner, Nicole's mother remembers that she had accidentally left her glasses at the restaurant. Nicole arranges for her friend, Ron Goldman, who was a waiter at the Mezzaluna, to drop the glasses off at her condominium after he finished work. 10:40 p.m. A limo driver was sent to OJ Simpson's Rockingham Avenue home in Brentwood. He buzzed the door but got no response. He noted that all of the lights were off in the house and it appeared that nobody was home, as he didn't see any vehicles parked on the property. 10:55 p.m. The limo driver sees OJ standing on the driveway then enter the house. The limo driver buzzed the intercom again and OJ tells the driver that he had overslept and just got out of the shower. He said that he would be down in a moment. OJ's houseguest, K-Town, also came out onto the driveway around this time, holding a flashlight. He asked the limo driver if there had just been an earthquake as he heard some banging sounds against the wall of the guest house. 11:15 p.m. OJ reappears and begins putting his bags in the car. OJ's friend offers to put a garment bag in the car for him. But OJ quickly tells him not to touch it and that he will put it in the limo himself. It was later theorized that this bag contained the murder weapon and OJ had disposed of the weapon in a bin at the airport restroom. They were soon on their way to LAX so OJ could catch his flight for a business trip he had in Chicago. 11:35 p.m. They reached the airport. 11:45 p.m. OJ's flight departs Los Angeles for Chicago. 12:10 a.m. A husband and wife, taking a walk, are approached by Nicole's Akita. They notice that the dog has blood on its paws and follow it. The dog led them to Nicole's condominium. From the pathway, they could see the bodies of the victims. The husband tells his wife that there was somebody dead in there and to call 911. 4:15 a.m. OJ checks into the O'Hare Plaza Hotel. 5:30 a.m. Police arrive at OJ's house to inform him of his ex-wife's death. They buzz the intercom but get no answer. Detective Mark Furman jumps the gate and lets the other detectives into the property. They quickly become worried about OJ and believe that he too was a victim, after finding blood on the exterior of his Bronco, a trail of blood leading from the Bronco to the house and also finding a bloody glove on the property that matched the one found at Nicole's property. 10:45 a.m. A search warrant has been obtained to search OJ's house. More blood is found inside of the Bronco and in and around his house. 12 p.m. OJ arrives back at his house and is temporarily handcuffed. He is taken to police headquarters for 3.5 hours of questioning. A few days after their bodies were discovered, Ron and Nicole's funerals were held. OJ had attended Nicole's, along with their 2 young children, Sydney and Justin. The next day, it was announced that OJ will be charged with 2 counts of murder and the prosecution was seeking the death penalty. That day, the infamous Bronco chase began. Everybody was glued to their TV sets, watching the slow speed chase. OJ had a gun to his head and was laying low in the back of his Bronco and his friend AC Cowlings was in the driver's seat. AC made pleas to the police to stop chasing them, telling an operator that OJ was suicidal and to back off. The negotiators even got a hold of OJ a few times who told them that he didn't want to live without Nicole and that he wanted to kill himself at her gravesite. During this chase, plenty of people stood on the side of the freeways holding signs showing their support for OJ as the Bronco passed them. The chase finally came to an end shortly before 9 p.m. and he is arrested. He was put in jail and denied bail. After a preliminary hearing, it is decided that he will be put on trial. A jury of 4 men and 8 women are selected. The panel included 1 white, 2 mixed-raced, 1 Hispanic and 8 African Americans. The trial was televised, and people everywhere were watching every bit of drama that was put on show in the courtroom. During the trial, The jury hears about OJ verbally and physically abusing Nicole during their 17-year relationship. They also see photos of her battered face and body. These photos were taken by police who made a visit to their residence after Nicole called 911 in a panic. The jury heard a 911 recording in which Nicole sounded terrified and OJ can be heard yelling in the background. Some of the photos of Nicole's injuries was taken by her sister at the request of Nicole. Nicole told her that she wants to keep them as evidence in case something happened to her at the hands of OJ. 3 years before the murders of Ron and Nicole, an African-American man named Rodney King was viciously beaten by LAPD officers during his arrest after he led them on a high-speed chase whilst intoxicated. The 4 officers involved were acquitted of all but one charge. Justice was not served. This caused an uproar and the Los Angeles riots of 1992 began. The riot lasted several days with 50 people being killed, more than 2,300 injured and property damage that amounted to almost $1 billion. Mark Furman was a witness for the prosecution. He was the detective who had found the bloody glove on OJ's property. The defense did some digging and found a tape recording in which Furman had made multiple offensive comments towards African Americans, which included using a racial slur over 40 times. The defense used this to suggest that Mark planted evidence at OJ's house, to implicate him for the murders as he seemed to have a disdain for African Americans. Mark had lied under oath, denying he had ever said such things. The jury then heard the tape recording of Mark Furman saying these derogatory statements, as evidence brought forward by the defense. Then comes the infamous moment when the prosecution asks OJ to try the gloves on. A request that prosecutor, Marcia Clark, never wanted to happen in the first place, and co-prosecutor, Chris Darden, now regrets. OJ approaches the jury and seemingly struggles to put the gloves on. He holds his hands up for everyone to see the ill-fitting gloves for themselves. It was said that the gloves failed to fit properly for multiple reasons. These include the fact OJ is already wearing a pair of latex gloves, which would create some sort of friction and stop the gloves from being worn easily. OJ also seemed to be bending his fingers in a way to make it difficult to put the gloves on. And a big reason as to why they may not have fit nicely was because the gloves had been soaked in blood and then kept frozen. During this process, the gloves had shrunk a little. The moment caused defense attorney, Johnny Cochran, to quip the memorable phrase,
"If it doesn't fit, you must acquit."
The trial finally came to an end on October 3, 1995. After more than 8 months and testimonies from about 150 witnesses, the jury deliberated for just 4 hours before coming back with the verdict of not guilty. The families of the victims were devastated. The public reaction was mixed, with the majority of African Americans becoming overjoyed with the verdict. Many believe that this verdict was made by the jury, not to get justice for Ron and Nicole, but in order to settle past grievances with the police department. In 1996, the victims' families filed a civil suit against OJ Simpson for wrongful death. OJ Simpson was found liable for the murders and was ordered to pay the family of the victims $33.5 million. On October 3, 2008, exactly 13 years to the day of being found not guilty for the murders of Nicole and Ron, OJ Simpson was found guilty of all 12 charges against him after he and a group of other men went into a Las Vegas hotel room and robbed a sports memorabilia dealer at gunpoint. He was sentenced to 33 years but was released from prison in 2017. OJ Simpson maintains his innocence in the murders of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel.